Hello, folks, and welcome to the next episode of the Stand for Our Lands Utah series. In the first episode, we discussed kind of an overview, which was just my initial impressions from the website standforourlands.utah.gov. And after some great feedback from listeners, which is greatly appreciated, there was a lot of things that I did not consider. In fact, I feel like I was duped a little bit by the great videos and fancy things that the state of Utah was bringing up. And my maybe unconscious bias was that, the state can manage the lands better than the feds. But there's some competing interests. And I should have first thought, why is this so important for the states to put this lawsuit forward against the federal government to take over those unappropriated government lands that are managed by the feds, which is approximately 18.5 million acres. And, well, what does the state want to do? What is the state getting out of that lawsuit if it goes their way? So there's obviously a lot of economic influence, and, you're always wrong to assume that the government is out for your personal best interests. That's obviously, if it sounds like government, if it smells like government, if it rhymes with government, you should not trust it. You should verify for yourself, and that's what I'm excited. That's what we're going to do in this episode. And I certainly don't want to try to shape the argument one way or the other. I think it's very important to, especially when you're researching new policy, that you stay as objective as possible. And so read the state side of things, and now I'm looking at the federal side of things, which is actually pretty interesting, because just because something is unappropriated, it doesn't mean that that is necessarily bad. Unappropriated means that, there's no economic investment, like there's no wind or solar or other influences going up there. So another way to think about unappropriated is it's just wild land. And obviously you can't create more wild land. We only have the resources that we have, and public influence, public investment, or just progress has been eating away at those public lands. Public lands in the 70s versus what we have now is obviously greatly diminished. So I think there is a case to be made on, if it's unappropriated but it's meant to be wild, then maybe there is a balance that needs to be struck here. And that's a great frame to think of policy as, is there's no perfect policy. There's going to be concessions. There's going to be winners and losers. You're not going to have a perfect policy that's going to work for everyone. So that's what policy is. It's finding the right balance of compromises, which it sounds like maybe that's the direction that this one should go. But we need to dig more into this to figure it out. But now I wanted to provide some good feedback that I got from some great friends. So let me just read this for you. Unappropriated does not mean unused. Almost everywhere and this is another quote from an individual who named unnamed, everywhere this person goes, they hunt, fish, hike, camp, backcountry ski, is unappropriated federal land in Utah. The state is trying to basically get control so they can open up these lands to mining, forestry, off-roading activity. These are all uses that would generate taxes, but on the downside would greatly diminish the value of these lands for outdoor recreation. Now, outdoor recreation, that's like more low impact, like just hiking in, backcountry use, hunting, which is more of like wilderness areas. So maybe there's a case to be said that the feds are trying to get UTV or other public, other commercial operations out of certain areas, because there is an impact if you're going to have more substantial recreational use. And there's definitely going to be a huge impact if you're going to do mining, forestry, etc. You can't get anything for free these days, right? There's a cost, there's a downside. But I am kind of curious to dig into it more, because it does sound like this lawsuit does, and I'm going to go on a limb here and say I'm going to assume that there is some state economic interests in this that might be short-lived and might have a detriment for the long-term consideration of preserving open, wild lands. Because once you open it up to mining, you can go through reclamation and turn it back, but obviously, there's going to be a lot of critters and other, activity there, natural environment. And, if you open it up to these commercial operations, that's going to have an impact. And I'm not going to say that that's bad, but it sounds like if you say 18.5 million acres of land in Utah is unappropriated, it doesn't mean it's not protected. Unappropriated would mean that there's no commercial use on that area. So I think that was good education for me, and we can continue diving into that, because I certainly don't think we've cracked the nut on this. And this is now shaping up to be, more of a legal battle than I maybe would have thought before. So I'm curious to look into the preservation of what it truly means to be unappropriated, because, and the old saying goes that, and I'm going to read it to you. I thought this was fantastic. Wild lands only shrink and never grow. And basically, once it's gone forever. So once you open it up to that commercial use and you start putting in, even, obviously we need mines, we need forestry, we need wind and solar, we need, all these things, energy. Yes, totally get it. But once you dedicate that land for those uses, that is essentially gone forever. So very interesting turn of events, and I wanted to quickly get this out to kind of check my own bias, and because it definitely sounded in the first episode that I was on the side of the state, and I was really kind of very wary of the federal government. But now I think it was very important to bring this aspect in, to know that, okay, we also need to be suspect of our state officials. And I'm not saying they're wrong. They're probably right to bring some of this forward, because Utah is growing and there probably is a lot of opportunities there for economic growth and other renewable energy and harvesting of natural resources. I get it totally, that you can't halt progress forever, but I am definitely wary, definitely want to dig more into this, because I don't want to just trust the state, much like I wouldn't trust the feds. We should definitely be involved with this as taxpayers, as residents, as informed conservation enthusiasts. And I look forward to digging this more. Please keep the feedback coming. I think that's what I've enjoyed most about this process, is hearing about from you, the viewers, and being engaged in this process. And I think together we can craft a great response, and which will turn into a letter that we can turn into our Congress folk and let them know what we think about this policy, because we're not going to get there by just trusting the politicians. We all need to be involved, and they definitely need our feedback too. So I'm very excited about this. Let's keep digging in. And I am leaving now, because I'm actually going out to use some unappropriated federal lands and a combination of wilderness land. So I always see this as there's a balance somewhere. It's not a zero-sum game for everyone. Obviously, there is going to be concessions. We all need to work together in the future. But I just think this is ironic. I am leaving to go to northern Utah, where I will be on a combination of federal wilderness areas, unappropriated BLM land, and then we're also going up into the corner of Idaho. I don't want to allude to where we're, some things do need to be kept a secret, but nonetheless, we'll be all over the place up there, and I am a little bit more aware of where my feet and truck are taking me, because there's a lot of boundaries up there, a lot of different uses, and I do think that deep down we can strike a balance. We can find the center of this, and we can help make sure everyone is properly informed and be involved. There we have it. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next one.